We're heading here through rubber plantations to the place that was the centre of Australia's Vietnam War presence in what was then South Vietnam between 1966 and 1972. Nui Dat was the Australian base in Phuoc Tuy province, less than 100 kilometres southeast of Saigon. At the height of the war, this was home to more than 8,000 Australian servicemen and women. It's 50 years since this base was established, and 50 years since the Battle of Long Tan, the most remembered of Australia's battles in Vietnam. So behind me here is an Australian Vietnam warrior bunker. We're about a kilometre or a kilometre and a half from Nui Dat, the old Australian base here. And there aren't too many things left. Even recently, the gates that were here last time I visited a few years ago, they've been removed as well. So this is the sort of perimeter area of the old Australian base at Nui Dat, and this bunker is one of the few remnants of the Australian presence here. I'm on the top of Nui Dat mountain, or it's more like a hill actually. Nui Dat is not a terribly big mountain, but in Vietnamese, Nui means mountain. So it literally translates, Nui Dat translates as mountain land. Dat means land in Vietnamese. And behind me is the old Australian base at Nui Dat, and you can also probably see Nui Dat 2, which nearby there is where the Battle of Long Tan took place. Probably known more commonly in Australia as the Battle of Long Tan, or Long Tan. The Vietnamese say it a little bit differently. But there's not a lot here, of course, but the landscape is probably fairly similar to what it was back then. So I'm walking here along the old Australian Airstrip at Nui Dat. It's now just a residential area, and the old strip's used as a road, local road, motorbikes going by as I speak to you. And to my left here is the old helicopter landing pad as well. Australian veterans funded this school right by the airstrip. The airstrip seems to be getting good use from local learner drivers. This one will probably need a little bit more practice. Behind me here is the cross at Long Tan, which commemorates the Battle of Long Tan that took place here in August 1966. And the Battle of Long Tan was the most significant for Australian forces in Vietnam. 18 Australians died here, 245 Viet Cong and North Vietnamese soldiers died here as well. This cross is quite remarkable because it's one of only two memorials to foreign service men and women that I know of in Vietnam. There's a memorial at Dien Bien Phu to the French soldiers who fell there, and this one here at Long Tan is the only other one, the only other official memorial that I'm aware of. As I was leaving Long Tan, I met an Australian couple who had come to pay their respects. What's your experience of the Vietnam War?
Well, I didn't get called up, and in 1966 I was just married, and I didn't know that this battle ever happened until probably 15 years after it finished, or after it happened. We weren't informed. I don't think anybody cared as much as they do now. So it's getting more important to Australians to come and see these places where we lost our mates.
How's the experience of actually visiting the cross here at Long Tan?
Very moving.
Yes.
You realise the battles here and how the Viet Cong was, well, the Australians were surrounded by the Viet Cong.
And then right here where we stand, yeah?
Yes, right here where we stand.
Not far from Nui Dat are the tunnels of Long Phuoc. They're less famous than the larger network at Gulchi, but very significant to Australian forces at the time. I had the pleasure of being taken around Long Phuoc by this former Viet Cong, Mr. Tan, and a lovely bloke he was too. Like the tunnels at Gulchi, these ones have been expanded to accommodate Western visitors. Mr. Tan told me he'd led many Australian vets through these tunnels. I asked him to pose for some video with me, and he wouldn't let go of my hand. Then he insisted we swap hats. Very special moment, a very special man. As I left the Long Phuoc tunnels, I met an Australian vet, Gary Roach, and his son, who shared some thoughts on the experience of returning.
I just wanted to see how it all turned out after we'd left, and when I was here, the people were really good. I didn't mind the people, and they were friendly, except for the people who were shooting at us, but most of the locals were pretty good.
And you were at Nui Dat?
Yeah.
Okay, and how long were you here for and what time?
13 months.
13 months.
Yeah.
And what year was that?
67, 68.
67, 68.
Yeah. When I first came here, I was just turned 20, and he's 30-something now, and yeah, just show him what I'd done. He's seen photos and that I had at home, but he didn't know what actually went on.
It's looking forward to seeing it, and looking forward to find out a bit more what happened and so forth and go from there. I think the most emotional part will be up at where you said will be Long High Hills. So that'll be where they lost a lot of guys.
So you served there in some, what battle was that?
Oh, they were just, every time we went on operations, every time we went to the Long High Hills, we lost guys through mines, because it was full of caves and you can never find them.